With like a little like.
Sure.
Okay. I just recorded you.
You did.
Yeah, so we're recording now. Whenever you start.
Okay.
Yeah. I have to go to the office.
Good to see you. Let's just come together. Yeah, well, I'm about to give the rallying call. And this time I am serious. We're going to get started right now. So if anyone who's here for my session wants to take a seat up front here, that would be great. I encourage you to sit as close to the front as you possibly can, because that will help with the activity that we're doing. And if you're not here for this session, just ask you to take any meetings elsewhere. Great. So we have some herding going on outside. I will banter on for a little bit while we all collect. How's it going so far?
Just a tad bit tired.
Yeah, good event.
Don't run away. Yeah, it's been great.
Tad bit tired.
Okay.
Might have an intimate group today.
I'll go and check if any.
Thanks. That's great.
So this is you. It's set for an hour. So when it basically is going to give you like 15 minutes for questions, and you'll hear being when
Okay.
it's about that time, and then you can take.
And that's at the end. 15 minutes before the end. And then
15 minutes before the hard stop. So.
I sure hope I get through everything. Which, in fact, brings me to timing. I'm going to go ahead and start on time, and we can let people filter in. I believe I'm recording already. So, for those folks, it feels a little awkward me talking through a lavalier and you so close, but I respect the ADA needs. For those of you whom I haven't met, I'm James Pittman. I'm the Director of Sustainability at Prescott College. I'm also an alum of Prescott College, class of 97. So I have a sense of how the whole curriculum works, and I love the mission of the college and the community. So that's why I continued on working here. My background is in ecological economics and whole systems design, so organizational development with systems thinking, chaos theory, theory-based to it. So you'll see a lot of those themes woven in. I'm going to give you a heads up, particularly around the activity. A lot of my passion in the last 2 years is bringing wisdom and learning from shamanic traditions and indigenous communities that I've spent time with into sustainability, trying to sort of get out of the mind-centered way of being. So I'm going to give you all a heads up. There is a bit of emotional risk in the session today. That we're going to do a visualization exercise that may bring up feelings of discomfort. Those will pass. I invite you to let them go and release them. They're not real. But if you do experience discomfort, that's okay. We'll move past that, and you'll understand a little bit more about that as I move on. What's important to know about that exercise, especially for folks in the back, is there's going to be a part where I have you blowing out, and you're going to want to blow on the floor. So as long as you have room and not directing it towards anyone else, that's great. Otherwise, feel free to move off, fill in, or what have you. I have a remote control here. So yeah, it's going to be a blowing in your zone. The ground is a good place to go with it, and it will all make sense later. I have a bunch of logos up on the bottom just to give you a sense that we're part of a much greater movement for sustainability in higher education. We're a member of ASHE, the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education. Let's see if I get all the acronyms right. We're also a participant in the ASHE STARS tool application, which is the sustainability tracking and rating system. Actually, a few folks at Prescott College helped develop that tool. We're a signatory to the American College and University President's Climate Commitment to take action in response to climate change. We were listed as one of the top green colleges, ranked by Princeton Review. I don't have a And then the last is U.S. Green Building Council. We're a member, and also we got the platinum certification. First in the county, one of less than 6 student housing in the country that are LEED platinum in higher education. So we're all very proud about that. Prescott College, little known, some folks may not know, Prescott College was founded on these concepts of, or these values of environmental responsibility and social justice. I like to say we were doing that 20 years before it was called sustainability. So our foundation, the point of our foundation and a conference called Emergence of a Concept, was to create a new model of education, experiential education for the 21st century. So here we are in the 21st century, we need to figure out what the next step is in that. So it's really exciting. For those interested in reading about the PC history in very comprehensive form, Sam Henry has a great book called Uncommon Education that you can get a hold of and learn more about the conference that started it and where we've been since then. I'm going to jump right into the activity. Before I do, I'm just going to let you know this is a great Wordle that I created with our sustainability plan. And you can go find these applications online and create a Wordle that moves the words around to highlight how frequently they're used. So the ones that are bigger are used more frequently, the ones that are smaller less frequently in our sustainability plan. But I wanted to just sort of put this up there to get you thinking about some of the language that we use in sustainability to engage that part of your mind. And in a moment, we'll engage that part of your heart through the process. So, the activity. What I ask you to do is get comfortable in your chair. You have both feet on the ground. Close your eyes. Everything's all safe here. Make yourself comfortable. Take a few deep breaths in and out. Let some of the stress of the day leave you. Relax. In this exercise, I'm going to ask you to call on your connection with those things that are greater than you in this world. It could be a spiritual person, so that could be a divine thing or person or entity that is greater than you. It could be more from a scientific or rational background, in which just ask you to think about what's unique and special and unexpected about this universe and how amazing it is that it exists. Feel your connection to that. I also want you to focus on your fears about sustainability. I want you to think about the word no. No, we're not going to be successful in this sustainability challenge. And no, we're not going to be able to change the path that we're on. We're having more and more problems, and we're not going to be able to change that trend. And no, sustainability, this notion of meeting the needs of everyone on the planet to the best of our ability without inhibiting the stability and fragile balance of the planet, that is not an achievable goal. And focus on no. And notice where you feel that feeling in your body. And notice how it feels. I want you to take a deep breath in and release those feelings. I encourage you to blow them onto the floor. Just blow those out. Shake them out if you like. Anything to get those negative feelings out. Let them descend beneath you. And let the earth take them. Because the earth can take them and transform them like compost. I want to say to you that I'm sorry. I'm sorry for encouraging you to focus on those feelings of disconnection. I'm sorry for encouraging you to see that you're separate from the world, that we're separate from our vision of success. And I ask you to please forgive me. Please forgive me for perpetuating that illusion, as I forgive you for perpetuating that illusion. It's not real. It's an illusion. It's false. And we can let it go. I want to thank you bringing to this place, the intentions that you bring, that you hold in your heart. The feelings that we can be successful, the feelings that we can achieve a path toward the new world. And I want to say that I love you. I love you for what you and your heart bring to this place, to this school, to this community. And I want to say that I love you for your intention to put a grand vision into action in whatever way you do. I want you to focus in your heart. In your heart, I want you to imagine a small flame. I ask you to focus on that flame, that flame has a golden light, a bright golden light. That's your metabolism, that's your truth, that's your heart song, if you will. And imagine that golden light radiating bigger and bigger out of your heart. That light fills up your whole body and makes you strong. I want you to focus on yes, as you think about that light. Yes, we can reach success. And yes, there is hope. Yes, this is all part of a great pattern that has been prophesied for centuries. This is all part of a time in which we can understand the heart and the mind coming together again, the masculine and the feminine coming together again. This is a time when we can realize our full potential as humans on this planet. So yes, we will grow and learn more about ourselves. Yes, we will change our lives. We will change the trend on this planet. Yes, we have more power than you can imagine for these sacred and special tasks that we have. Yes, we can create a more just, harmonious, and sustainable world. So imagine that flame radiating brighter and brighter out of your heart, extending past your heart, and connecting to all the other people around you, that they are also glowing with this golden light. And all the conversations you've had and interactions you've had here. Just sit for a minute and feel that golden light radiating. I want you to imagine now that 10 years from now, you come back to Prescott College after you've graduated. I want you to imagine that as soon as you step onto campus, you notice that an amazing thing has happened. Things are different. Imagine something in particular that you see here at Prescott College that helps you to know we're walking our talk, that we're manifesting the values we were founded on. Think really specifically about what it is that you see or feel that's different 10 years from now at Prescott College. Something that's clearly manifesting our values. I ask you to open your eyes again. And what I'd like to do is invite you each to share anything that came up for you, maybe share what it was that you saw on campus 10 years from now. Anything that you experienced when you were visualizing any part of that? Farm? What was that farm like?
There's a lot of animals, and there's a lot of plants, and there's a lot of students working the farm.
Thanks. That's great. What else?
I saw bikes,
Bikes?
bicycles that you can use that were painted and plastic colors and ride around classrooms, drive, of course, stories.
Mm-hmm. Bikes? Farm? What else did you?
Down over where, on the other side of this building here, there's a little area that is, it looks like somebody has some sort of a living, garden, it's like tiered, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I saw an amphitheater that had outdoor seating, like, it looked like a little mini, Hollywood Bowl type for, community and student performance and gatherings and that
Were there people in there?
Yes, it was used quite frequently, and people throughout the community used it for many different things, but it was sort of a very cool place for gathering and meeting students.
Great.
I just got thinking about protection of the night sky, so
Mhm.
careful lighting and maybe a way to invite the public in to appreciate the night sky. So I don't know if it was people in the public, not telescope, but yeah, telescope maybe, or I don't know. You could appreciate the night sky from.
Great. Thanks.
I had a particular challenge was people doing zip lines.
Oh yeah.
Squirrel.
Challenge course on campus. Great.
I saw snow and
Snow and big trees.
I learned about
Well, there's certainly room for snow and big trees here. We didn't have much snow speaking of this year. Anything else anyone wants to share? What you experienced, what you saw at the end? Happy to speak to any discomfort that you might have felt.
So I actually thought, based on some of my personal experience, knowing how expensive it can be to be sustainable, that things just do cost more.
Mhm.
And I think part of that is, not scaling. It's not at scale yet. But if I actually thought about how much of my tuition goes to Prescott College maintaining this vision, like that was one thing that I thought about knowing.
Mhm.
when you were having us focus on no,
Yeah.
one of the last things you said, with words of discouragement, actually made me really happy. Because I'm used to often hearing people say negative stuff, and I know it's false.
Mhm.
And not all of your talk did that, but like one of the last things you said, I was just like, yes, of course, but that's not true, you know?
Great.
And so I got a little thing.
Great. Thank you.
The other thing I think, what's been great about the last few days is the way that the community feels like it's come together. It's struck me that every time I've been to campus, I've almost never seen the community here. It's like we will come in for a period of time and then we will disappear. And so I had a bit of thinking about, I would love to go on campus and see stuff happen.
Mhm.
Because that's part of what makes the community sustainable, is that there's stuff happening. And it's weird, we come into the space and we make stuff for 6 days, and then we disappear. Now, I know that it's not during the regular semester and other stuff, but it still is that feel. How do you make it a campus where people hang out and walk around? I think that's important for sustainability.
Well, I appreciate that comment in particular, and each one of the ones that's come up. The good news is that every single thing that y'all envision is either happening or is in the plan to be happening. And particularly in terms of the last comment here from James, the campus commons here is creating a better container, a better forum for us to have that type of thing. So we're sort of growing into that future. Just a couple words briefly on what I was actually encouraging you to do. I mentioned it. Some of it comes from shamanic traditions. The four things that I said in the middle, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, is actually a prayer from indigenous communities in Hawaii. It's called Ho'oponopono. And it's used to help us see that in the first half, I'm sorry, please forgive me, that this whole notion that we're separate, that we're not connected, and I'll flip to an image for this, is an illusion. That actually everything in this universe, everything that's alive, everything that's not alive, in our sense, although I suppose we will say everything is alive, is connected at a fundamental level. And this is actually echoed in physics these days. In more and more discoveries, I'm very fond of David Bohm's work talking about how this world we live in is what's called the explicit universe, where we see all these patterns and dynamics. There's another universe called the implicit universe, where all those patterns come from, where everything that is, was, and shall be comes from. This is physics. It sounds like spirituality, but this is physics. And that the process of moving between those two universes is holomovement. This is extremely similar to themes are really consistent. What we're seeing here is an emergence from that universe, and to that extent, it's all connected. This feeling that we can't be successful, this feeling that things aren't going so well, is an illusion. And you can think of it psychologically or spiritually. It holds us back from our true potential. I can't tell you how many times I've sat in my office over there thinking, goodness, we're not going to be successful in sustainability. And then I don't feel like doing any more work. I feel like sitting around, or I feel like going for a walk, which is valuable as well. But what it does is it disconnects me from my ability to be successful. It disconnects me from my ability to work well with other people. It disconnects all of us from our ability to really create the future and the vision that we want to. So again, whether you take that in a spiritual context or a psychological, those dynamics, the important thing to remember is we have to continually remind ourselves to let go of the negative images, the no's, the things that are preventing. We're going to have challenges, absolutely. But it's kind of like if you're a skier or a river runner or a mountain biker, if you look at the trees, if you look at the rocks, you're going to hit them. If you focus on the space between them and the path forward, you're going to be more successful moving forward. So that's the main reason why I do that. So the whole exercise is focused on helping us to imagine that in this Earth community we are connected in our relationships, in the place that we come from, this other universe that we come from, and that our futures are connected as well. So that's kind of what I wanted to focus on because we're sharing our home here on the planet. I'm going to move into a lot more content here that is more focused on the mind, but I'll continually ask you to revisit this notion that it's really about our heart. And this period right now, from indigenous prophecy, a lot of indigenous wisdom says that the point now, this time on Earth, is to figure out how the mind and the heart work together. Figure out how to bring the masculine and the feminine back together again. In particular, notice that the mind is in service to the heart. The heart does a better job of figuring out what's harmonious, resonant, comfortable, and the mind can be in service. We've kind of gotten confused about that. So Prescott College has been focused on sustainability for a great long time. I'm going to go over a very rapid history of multiple decades so you can see some of the trajectory of where we've come up until now. I'm starting in the 1990s, one, because I don't really have a sense of the detailed history before then, but also this is the first period of time that we were calling it sustainability. So that's why I started at the 1990s. In the 1990s, there was a huge movement for sustainability in higher education, and then what other folks call higher education for sustainability. It's really the curriculum side and the operational side. And there were discussions about, don't we need a professional association across higher education? The Association of University Leaders for a Sustainable Future, ULSF, was talking about this. The North American Association for Experiential Education was convening forums on this. The National Wildlife Federation Campus Ecology was bringing together forums on this. And the first incarnation was what they called HENSI, the Higher Education Network for Sustainability and the Environment. It later became the EFS Network, EFS West and EFS East. And then eventually now it's what we know as ASHE, the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education. I think for me, the thing that was most exciting about this period is these were meetings of 30 people, 40 people. A handful of them were Prescott College students and faculty. We were represented among very few institutions in these conversations. A lot of that work then, we came back to campus. Actually, I forgot one here. We also had students at the first National Campus Earth Summit developing a document called the Blueprint for a Green Campus. This is some of the earliest initiatives that we were taking part in. At the same time, on campus here, we were digging up a street just back here, taking shovels and rakes and implements of destruction to the road in order to recreate the creek that flowed through here. So if you go over here, imagine that this stretch right by the dumpsters where the road butts in actually continued through. In the mid-90s, it did continue through. And some students, as their senior project, dug that road up and started Butte Creek Restoration Project. Also started a campus community garden. In this place, there was a bar and restaurant with a volleyball court up back, and the students took all the sand out, wheelbarrow by wheelbarrow full, and created a community garden. The Sustainable Community Development Program, one of the first ones that started with the name sustainability, and it started around this time as well as a project I'm particularly fond of. This is my senior project, a consortium that we created. At the time, it was called the North American Alliance for Green Education, creating opportunities for students and faculty to connect and actually move between institutions around the country that are focused on similar values, increasing that mobility and interaction. Now it's actually called the ECO, which is a much better name. It's easier to say, it's better branding. But that student exchange around sustainability continues. At the time, we received a $3.5 million grant from NASA to start a program called Sustainability and Global Change, helping to facilitate communities and organizations working on sustainability challenges over time. Some of that work is still ready to be reactivated this time. Students of Prescott College were also instrumental at what was called the National Town Meeting for a Sustainable America. Al Gore and his President's Council on Sustainable Development created this event in Detroit in the late 90s to try to focus national energy around sustainability issues. And the team of Prescott College students actually facilitated the Youth Roundtable, which was the highlight of that event. Through other political happenings after that, the sustainability movement kind of got put on hold nationally, but we continued to work on it on campus. We started the Wolfberry Experimental Agroecology Farm. We built the Crossroads Center, which was one of the first green buildings in the country, very effective in using alternative building methods, recycled materials, recyclable materials, and we're about ready to update that building with some new technology now. Faculty were involved creating the ASHE STARS tool that I told you about a little bit earlier. We created the PhD in Sustainability Education and also the JSE, the Journal of Sustainability Education. We founded our Sustainability Council, which created a sustainability department and hired a sustainability coordinator, and then that position became the sustainability director position that I filled. And that was created in about 2007, 2008. We signed on to the ACUPCC, which is the climate protocol in higher education. We had the first annual Sustainability Education Symposium that's been going strong every year since then. We formed a sustainability plan that I'll tell you a little bit about that looks at comprehensive sustainability implementation across campus. We just recently merged with the ECOSA Institute for Regenerative Ecological Design. They're now ECOSA Institute at Prescott College. And a bunch of other things. It's actually getting to a point where it's too difficult to count all the different programs and projects going on. We built a village over here. We're working on our climate action plan. We were the 10th college in the country to vote to divest from fossil fuels in our endowment. A lot of great things going on. Before I move into the latest examples in more detail, what questions do you have about our more extended history as we look backwards? Are there any questions that you have looking at this and hearing what I've said so far?
Did you know, in the 1990s was your path forward? Did you know where you were going, or have things just
No.
sort of emerged over time?
No, in fact, I think at the time, a lot of folks thought sustainability was the next fad that was going to come in and go out. As I said, these events were 30 or 40 people in higher education as an industry. Now there are 3,000 to 4,000 people going to these national events. And it was really difficult to start the conversation with people unless they were already oriented towards climate change or social justice or water efficiency. It wasn't as easy. Also, the movement was much more disparate. Folks were focused on this issue, this issue, but not really a sense of the whole picture. And I would say actually the WTO protest, what some call the battle in Seattle around the turn of the century, was what really focused that and brought the social and ecological aspects of sustainability. So no, we didn't have a sense that we would be successful or even that we had momentum.
How does this parallel with the large global atmospheric political protocols, like the successful one against CFCs and some other unsuccessful one against carbon, which follows a similar time frame? What's been the
question. I think the feeling that we had, particularly in the 90s, was the rest of the world doesn't really get it. That these are core values that we have, that some few outside of in like-minded institutions or organizations. I think there was great hope for some of the political momentum nationally and internationally. A lot of that was dashed with the 2000 election at the national level in particular. I think there was a lot of thought at the time that the Kyoto Protocol would be what we needed to solve climate change, and we're realizing now that not only is it not, but the carbon trading, carbon market plan is not the best way to go. That there are more assertive, more aggressive models. And even the Congressional Budget Office, even the Pentagon agrees that we need to be more aggressive in response to climate change. Does that answer your question? Sure. In the back.
Are there any new initiatives on the level of the NASA type initiative now or plan for the future or any type of negotiation taking place around an initiative of that?
It's a good question. Not that I know of on campus in terms of being really far down the way of having a clear perspective on it. What the NASA Sustainability and Global Change Program was doing was taking GIS modeling, global information systems, and system dynamics modeling to look at human resource use as it affects regional planning and growth. And particularly, for example, looking at Arizona here, if we continue to grow at the rate we're growing, how's that going to affect our water use management? Or how's that going to affect forest fire risk? And that the more communities we build, the more edge we have between urban communities and nature and forest, which actually increases fire risk. There's nothing that's as sophisticated as that, and we would actually need to do some work to bring those tools back. But I do think on the social and interpersonal side, there's a greater will to move in that direction. And there's a lot of discussion right now about forming a consultancy that would help other organizations, other communities to deal with these issues. So I'd say that's probably the closest answer to your question.
Yeah, so you said that in the 90s you felt like we're the only ones doing this, or other people not. I'm curious if you still feel that way about Prescott College being located in Prescott and in central Arizona. And as someone who grew up in Arizona, I'm just like pretty familiar with these parts. How you're feeling about that?
It depends on the day. I moved here from Seattle, from Ecotopia, and there folks focused on sustainability are a dime a dozen. So I think we have a bigger challenge. We stand out a little bit more. I think, though, these ideas are definitely becoming mainstream, and particularly from the side of the conversation that talks about economic efficiency, saving money, reducing risk to organizations. So I think it's very good that we are one of the few leaders in sustainability in the Southwest. We're one of the only private colleges that focuses on this. We're also one of the, I think we're the first PhD program in the country. So I think our work is cut out for us culturally in the Southwest here, but I think we're up to the challenge, and I think the world is moving in the same direction. I'm going to keep cruising on. Feel free to interrupt me with questions, though. I can tend to blast a fire hose of information. So if you have questions or thoughts. One of the core elements in sustainability work on campus here is our Sustainability Council. The Sustainability Council has 11 members, students, faculty, and staff. The students and faculty come from every program and every delivery model. And they're focused on three main things that are actually housed in subcommittees now. Our outreach and communications, connecting with all the different constituencies to get information from them about what we're doing well, where we can use improvement, and also providing information. And we've actually held back from providing information actually for the last few years. This is one of the first presentations I've ever done because we've been focused on walking the walk, and now we're moving into a stage of talking the talk. We've got things that we're really proud of. The council also then awards project funding. $50 per term per student goes to the fund for the council and the sustainability department. And you and other students and faculty can apply to get some of that money for a project that you're working on that would be relevant to sustainability implementation in some way that it just needs to affect the Prescott College community. And that doesn't need to be locally on campus here. So I'm happy to tell you more about that. Also the council works on curriculum. In 2014, here, 3 of the projects we funded are the next stage of the Butte Creek Restoration Project down there. This Sustainability Education Symposium provided some funding for the event, and also a sustainability assessment for a local school, kind of piloting this consultancy idea that we have, working on sustainability assessment in collaboration with them to see how they can save resources and save money. And I forgot to put one on here, actually, the McClintock Garden across the creek. We also funded a student project there. Only a few of my slides have as much text and as many bullets as this, so I apologize in advance for text-heavy content. The Sustainability Department is a department of 1 full-time employee, and that's me. I'm the Director of Sustainability, and these are some of the functions that I serve. I won't go into them in detail, happy to answer questions. I am also supported by a great group of sustainability research assistants. These are work study students, about 11 this year, who come in, and I actually invite them to figure out what project they want to focus on, start with where they're going. Our sustainability plan is so broad that they can pretty much aim anywhere in the realm of sustainability. And the reason I put this graphic up here on the previous slide and this one is you can look at that in terms of what some folks call the triple bottom line. People, planet, prosperity. Some folks would say there's a 4th bottom line of purpose, how resilient we are in achieving our purpose. I like to look at the triple bottom line this way, though. It's got an economic bottom line, a social, and an environmental one. They're nested systems. Any one of these systems operates in a way that doesn't conform to the dynamics, the rules, patterns, and constraints of the next bigger system. We're going to have a problem. So when the economic system is selling all of these collateralized debt obligations and other derivatives in 2008, that didn't really fit in the rules of society. And so we ran into a problem. So on economic crash. When society as a whole is emitting carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere really rapidly, that doesn't fit within the patterns and constraints and the healthy dynamics of the larger environmental system. So that's how we focus on the triple bottom line here. Our sustainability plan is structured around the triple bottom line. It builds off the HE STARS tool and has process objectives related to coordination, planning, curriculum, and then it covers particular objectives and indicators for measuring performance in environmental, social, and economic realms.
So just something to throw in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you had a chance to look at the beautiful presentations by our graduating students yesterday. You can, and but mostly because of the funding that they provided, but anyway, it's that. One of our new doctors proposed for component is spirituality, which I think resonates really well with what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it doesn't really fit within the social.
No.
It's almost like that ring would go outside of the environment. I don't know. You have to think about how that fits. When you think about spirituality from the point of view of humans, but also non-humans, it may be broader. It may include the little green
Absolutely.
guys who go on or whatever, as well as all life in the universe would be somehow connected to the spiritual dimension. So I'm just wondering.
It's an excellent point. I appreciate you for making that point. The secret is that when I put purpose there, that's the word that I really mean. The reason I use purpose is because this very discussion has come up at Prescott College and also at Bainbridge Graduate Institute in their MBA program, strangely enough, about what's the role of spirituality. They decided to use the word purpose. I've adopted that approach. It's part of the dialogue, and I actually wouldn't locate it in any one place in the diagram. I would say it's the whole diagram. It's everything. Now, for those folks who may not be spiritual or religious, let me just reframe that word for you a little bit. When I use the word spiritual, I want to call to mind 3 things. One is a sense of something larger than yourself. Like I said, that could be something divine. It could also just be the universe in and of itself, this complex order of the universe that we study with science. If you have a sense that there is something larger than yourself, and that has value, that's the first element of what I would call sustainability. The second is that connection with something larger than yourself affects your relationship with yourself. It influences how you understand yourself and your identity. It influences how you understand your connection with your organization, and it influences how you understand your connection and interaction with your community. That's all I mean by sustainability or spirituality when I talk in that aspect, thinking about how those relationships and dynamics can be harmonious, beneficial, and work towards the common good of all those elements.
Yeah, it kind of relates to that when I think of spirituality as kind of a larger container, kind of what is between. It's really about love.
Absolutely.
I was thinking about when I proposed, something for the funding last year. I feel like I was trying to infuse love into the symposium, and I think if it had been a specific, right, if you go to that slide with the ecological, social, economic, it might have been evaluated differently in terms of how. No, keep going. The one that said there.
Yes.
You know what, spiritual? Maybe I could have made the point about it in a way that it could have been evaluated and seen in that way. Not, right, you said it's everywhere. I don't necessarily see it there in terms of how it might be evaluated.
It's a good point, and I'll bring that up with the council actually, because I think that's an important consideration. We're actually about to revise our criteria for deciding about funding. The other thing,
And it's what Melanie has brought. Hopefully you'll have a chance to see. But Melanie has brought this incredible, something that's inexplicable to, the days, the sessions in between with music. You can just feel the energy change when she brings the music and has us beating and in rhythm together. And it's lifting, and it connects, and it rejuvenates, and it's not there.
it's not. You're absolutely right.
Spirit.
Not
Yeah.
explicitly.
Yeah.
I think somewhere between some and all the people on campus think about that when they think about these issues. And some of the challenge is being able to use that language and bring those themes into discussion. Because when I'm on the council, for example, there are other folks who would look at the exercise we did, would think about love and say, well, that's the soft stuff. We're not interested in that. Let's focus on analysis and assessment and quantification and those aspects of sustainability. To your point, though, I would actually contend that love is the essential element that's missing from the sustainability movement as a whole. We really need to infuse the movement with more of a sense of love, more of a sense of these interpersonal elements. I do want to check in really quick on time, though. Do I have? Is that bell real?
No, my iPad was dying, and so I was freezing.
So I'm going until 4. Is that right?
Yeah, no, you
Great.
still have 18, 20 minutes till you have a 15-minute question answer. Sorry.
In that case, I'm actually going to wrap up the questions just now, or comments, and invite us to bring those into the end, because I realize I need to get through some of the content to tell you about the other excellent things. Our cafe, as you know, our cafe puts into application a lot of these principles and values we're talking about. I don't need to go into it in detail, but organics, local stuff, fair trade stuff, it's increasing priorities in the cafe to apply our social and environmental sustainability values. I'm happy to share that more with folks. As you may know, some of you may be staying there, the village is one of our biggest notches in our belt, if you will, recently in terms of sustainability achievement. I'm really excited about it because it's an excellent demonstration in energy efficiency. We just recently confirmed that the village is what's called net zero for electricity. It actually collects more energy from the solar panels on the roof than it uses. Now that's only in the heating, the cooling, the plugs, and the lights. The water heating is actually gas fired. There isn't a lot of good electric technology for that right now, but it's a very minuscule and a highly efficient portion of the village. And there's, at least my hope is that we're going to overproduce enough solar to offset the emissions from that combustion. The village catches rainwater off the roof. This waters the grapevines and the fruit trees there. It's got more abundant bike racks for students. It's got high efficiency lighting and low flow fixtures. Used a lot of recycled and recyclable materials. We reduced the construction waste dramatically. It's actually 90% more efficient than conventional construction. So if you look at conventional building that would have been that size, this consumes 90% less energy to begin with, and then we use solar to provide that other. And I'll show you a graph in a second that illustrates that. So the village is one of our most exciting achievements recently. Just last year, it was certified LEED Platinum. If you want to find out more about the village, I'm only highlighting it. You can go to this website or just Google USGBC Prescott College, and you can actually see the Green Building Council's roster, scorecard. As part of that, we created an energy monitoring dashboard. So this is moving into the realm of analysis and the rational mind, much more so than art. But again, there's this connection. If you're interested in seeing the dashboard, it's prescott.edu/energy. Easy to get to. You'll get taken to this web page up here in the upper left. It shows you the performance of different buildings, which ones are consuming more or less than the recent past. And you can actually check out graphs of performance in particular buildings. So down here in the lower left, I have the entire village facility, 21,000 square feet over there, 3 buildings. And this is a graph of the energy consumption compared to the Welcome Center, a much smaller building on the corner here. And as you can see, these 3 very large buildings consume significantly less energy than this one building over here. So that's an excellent way that you can see. You can also see it going negative when the solar energy is actually producing more than we're consuming. And then this graph up here is actually an energy contest that we had resident students participate in this spring. So you can see the different performance. Each bundle of bars is 1 unit, A1, A2, the different housing units or townhouses, if you will. The bars within the bundle are weeks in the contest. So you can see that performance, that most of the A units here didn't save a whole lot of energy. That the size of the bar, the height of the bar is the amount of energy saved per square foot over the course of that contest. So you can see the units in the C building actually saved a lot more energy. And this one right here, the outlier that had a lot of really negatives, I asked the resident housing director, what is that? I don't understand the data. Can you give me the sense of what the story is behind that? He said, oh yeah, they're partiers. They're radical. They're totally messy. Dirty dishes all over the place. And so they're not very concerned with energy. In fact, they may be interested in consuming as much energy as they can. So that's what we're able to see. So we're able to use the data and the analysis here to get a sense of culture and social dynamics and behavioral changes. That's what I'm most excited about with the dashboard. We also then have the ECOSA Institute for Regenerative Ecological Design that I mentioned. These illustrations here, they helped us with a redesign going this way, figuring out how we can gather more solar energy, collect rain, and actually put covered parking over the parking lot to collect more solar energy, and redirect the water to reduce erosion. So there's a little pocket basin down here at the bottom. You can see they've designed for the back of the building. These are the solar parking covered, and then this picture here on the upper left shows you where we're proposing that structure. Very good likelihood that we're going to move ahead with this plan in the distant future. That the covered parking for solar energy generation is really going to be one of the only ways that we can produce enough solar to power the whole campus. This is another ECOSA Institute project. They redesigned the 6th Street Industrial District across town. So they're involved in many different projects where students are working hands-on on real-world problems in our community. And so this was a redesign of what is not a very effective or useful industrial district as the economy is shifting here. And they're talking about changing it to an eco-industrial part, a hotel conference center, the heart of it, which would be a connection between the roadway and the greenway. Really an opportunity to give people an opportunity to enjoy that place more than they are right now in underutilized industrial district. Our Butte Creek Restoration Project, as I mentioned, you can see it over here when you're walking around. You probably have enjoyed that area already. I like to think of this as the heart of campus. So the students and faculty who are working on it do very important hard work restoring our connection with the natural world here. And this is a few of the strategies and priorities that we've implemented. In the long run, in the next year or two, we're actually going to connect it up to the greenways system. So you'll be able to take the trail out here and connect to other trails through the greenways throughout the city. Eventually, that's going to extend all the way up to Butte. It's already in the plans. It hasn't been approved yet. But this greenways networks of trails is something we're participating on. This is, I'm really excited, totally tech geeky moment here. Google Maps just updated the aerial photography. And I've been waiting for the moment when our mosaic of papers in the Commons would show up on Google Maps and Google Earth. And it happened last week. So I couldn't resist giving you this aerial photo just to give you a sense of our campus, and in particular, how the creek is the heart of the campus. village over here on the left, and the rest of the main part of campus over here on the right. And you can see that meandering creek is right at the heart of campus. And then this is where that road used to extend, where students took shovels and rakes and implemented construction. So we're starting to see the campus become a campus, and that's been accomplished with a very strong emphasis on sustainability. We have our Jenner Farm and campus gardens. I could tell you volumes about these. It's really exciting because it gives students an opportunity to work hands-on with the food that we grow and eat, not only producing food, but experimenting, conducting scientific experiments with dry lands farming techniques, soil management techniques. It's a really exciting opportunity building on from our Wolfberry Farm Foundation. And really throughout the college, I think the emphasis on sustainability here at Prescott College is project-based experiential learning. So on the left, you can see this was a senior project by a student named Galen Taylor, who thought, well, we should have an outdoor classroom. And I apologize, it's a horrible picture I took with my iPhone this morning. It's a solar-powered outdoor classroom. If you ever need to use it, to the right of the whiteboard, there's a switch that'll turn on the light in the middle and also the charging port if you want to charge your laptop. And that's 100% free energy from the sun. So we're really excited about that. Perfect example of a student's project-based learning.
Some of the clay in the wall is kind of
It is. So it's a challenging method. It's an earth plaster. And it's a very effective building material, particularly in the Southwest here. It can be waterproof if you do it right, which I think we need some repair to make it that way. It has some thermal mass. One half of that structure is actually adobe, and the other is straw. Thank you. It's a mix of clay and straw, and that's underneath that earth plaster finish. What happened there is you'll see the cracking in the areas that, in particular, have the southern sun and the western sun. What happened is with earth plaster, what you need to do is actually spray it with water so it doesn't dry too quickly, so that the clay has a chance to cure, and so the molecules can make a really strong bond. In this case, I don't think we sprayed it enough. It's an easy fix. We just go by and we put more earth plaster on it, and we spray it so it dries more slowly over time. And we're about ready for that.
I just wanted to ask where those farms were on the slide before. I didn't.
Sure, yeah. The Jenner Farm is in Skull Valley. So if you go up Miller Valley and take a left on Iron Springs, which is where Hastings and all those plazas are, you go all the way out of town, past Granite Mountain, past where the fire was last year, and you go down, winding down a hill. There's a little town called Skull Valley out there, and we've actually worked with the Jenner family to rent some land that they have there. Skull Valley actually, incidentally, has the best soil for agriculture in the region. So it's a really great opportunity for us to do some farming. The other ones, this is Jenner Farm, or might be Wolfberry, and then these are campus gardens. So we've got campus gardens scattered throughout campus. Climate change, I knew that I should present something on climate change, and the colors came out horribly. I wanted to have it be a dreary, negative, dark color that indicated emissions. We've been working for a great long while on our climate action plan, and a lot of schools have moved quicker than we. I have really high standards, so I'm the one who slowed it down. We want to get very detailed. In taking action in response to climate change, for me, it was very important at Prescott College that we not just plot incremental change. We're going to save 10% reduce 10% of our emissions over here and 5% here. Just sort of numbers that we pull out of a hat. I'm an economist by training. I want to have specific costs and benefits indicating how we're going to do it. A plan that I can hand to somebody else and they can implement after we put it in place. So in our climate action plan, we've got detailed projects and costs, benefits, return on investment, and what is a fairly new method of accounting is a social return on investment, looking at our environmental and social externalities. So that plan will be released, I think, in the next 2 or 3 months here. What you'll see in it, though, is that we emit somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,600 to 2,900 metric tons of CO2 equivalent, which is how you measure greenhouse gases. That's what we do every year. Now, the reason I have a range is it depends on how you define our boundary. And on the left, I've got a graph with one boundary that includes student travel to residences. So when you fly here or drive here for this event, on our left-hand extended boundary numbers, and I only gave percentages, that includes your travel to get to events like this. Most schools don't do that. So we actually may, in the short term, use a more standard boundary that only includes those things that we have operational control over. If we look at the extended boundary or the standard boundary, we've divided it into 3 scopes. This is how you measure greenhouse gases. I'm not going to tell you too much about it. It's a pretty vast area of science emerging very rapidly. Scope 1 is those emissions that you are directly emitting, something that you are doing primarily in combustion that is emitting a greenhouse gas directly into the atmosphere. This is our natural gas. This includes our fleet vehicles, anything in which we're actually causing a direct emission to the environment. Scope 2 is those things where we're purchasing a resource that is indirectly resulting in emissions. So when we purchase electricity from the grid, there's a power plant somewhere else that's emitting greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. That's our scope 2 emission. Scope 3 is sort of the wide open category of everything else. When you as a student are driving to campus with your own car, that's a scope 3 with a really wide range of what is scope 3. So we've done one assessment of our greenhouse gas emissions. That's where these numbers come from. We're going to do another one as soon as our plan is out in order to plot that plan. The other side then is how are we going to improve? The strategies for doing that are ordered in terms of priorities. First, you want to do efficiency. Then you want to do renewables, solar, wind, biofuels, some biofuels. And then you want to consider offsets last. So you see in this graph, the blue is our potential reduction from efficiency, the green is renewables, the orange is offsets, and the gray is our larger set of emissions over time. So one of the next major projects we're going to do this summer is a retrofit of this building to make it more comfortable. You might notice the rooms are kind of too hot, too cold. Open the windows, close the windows, don't really know. Some people are comfortable, some people aren't. We can actually save 50% of the money that we spend on heating and cooling in this building through this retrofit that we're about to do. We spend about $80,000 a year to provide electricity in this building. So it'll save us approximately $40,000 a year. And the net savings to that will go into a reinvestment fund. As we spend less energy on utilities, we're going to save that and reinvest it into other projects to reduce our emissions. We just recently, also part of our climate action planning, we just recently signed a fossil fuel divestment resolution committing to divest our entire endowment from fossil fuel corporations, from the 200 largest fossil fuel corporations, as a way to use our dollars and use a market force, a market indicator or message to those corporations and they need to change their ways. We're the 10th college in the nation. We're joining dozens and dozens of other organizations in doing that. So it's a 3-year plan. We're going to move our endowment from the 200 largest. It reduces, I actually used economic logic to the board to explain this to them. If we stay invested in fossil fuel companies, once there is regulation to mitigate climate change, they're not going to be able to burn about 4/5 of their assets. I want you to imagine that. Imagine that you have an asset, say a bank account, savings account. You can use it all right now. But in 2 weeks, somebody's going to tell you, you can only use 1/5 of that. So the value of your savings goes down. What's going to happen is the value of these fossil fuel corporations is going to decrease dramatically. It's what we're calling stranded assets. 80% of the known reserves cannot be burned. Otherwise, we're going to get into very dire circumstances globally. And then we're also working on advocacy with our investment brokerage to give opportunities for other folks to take that as well. I'm almost near the end of the slide, and we'll have some good time for Q&A, which is almost just on time. One of the things we're working, as I mentioned, we've got environmental, social, and economic realms of the sustainability plan. There are more objectives in the environmental because it's the ultimate bottom line. We have quite a few in the social as well, related to diversity, inclusion, human resources, collegiality, those social aspects of our community. One of the projects that I I worked on that's still in process is a new tool for us to look at justice and equity in our compensation systems. We know that there's a lot of talk nationally and internationally about income inequality, wealth inequality, and that some analysts are saying actually that will pose a really significant risk to civilization. In some possibilities, some analysts are saying that the income inequality could collapse our civilization. Other analysts have pointed out that we don't have a democracy in the U.S. anymore, and that our economy is controlled by a few who hold most of the wealth. So how do we create change in that realm here on campus? Well, we want to make sure we're compensating people in a fair, just, and equitable manner. So we created this tool that's still in development to do that. On the bottom left are ratios for maximum executive compensation that we're going to use. One comes from Ben & Jerry's, one comes from J.P. Morgan, and one comes from the Chronicle of Higher Education. On the right, you see a snapshot of the tool that we're creating. And on the upper left, you see a comparison of cumulative compensation. So the x-axis there is the cumulative workforce. On the furthest left, it's 0% of the workforce, then 20% of the workforce, etc. The y-axis then is the cumulative percentage of compensation. For that first 20% of the workforce, how much are they getting paid? As opposed to lowest on the totem pole, we're getting paid the least. And so the curve that you can see there gives us some semblance of indication of income equality. We had a totally equal system, which in Prescott College we did in the 70s when we reformed. We actually paid everybody exactly the same amount regardless of their role. So this blue line represents that, totally equal pay. If it goes up in percentage, it goes up the exact same amount in the proportion of pay. When we look at where we are at right now, this orange line is where we're at right now. This is just a pilot analysis that I did with about 10 jobs on campus. We've got about 150, so we can do it more thoroughly. The green line then is looking at other schools of our size, budget size and enrollment size, and the same positions at those schools, looking at a comparison. So we've gotten a little bit further towards the inequality side than even the rest of the marketplace. We want to figure out how to both manage that in a just and equitable fashion, also though provide incentives for really talented people to come into the school and make sure they're getting compensated enough to hear from other places.
Yeah, the Ben & Jerry's reference, is that current or is that prior to their sale?
That's prior to the sale. I'm glad you asked that. So Ben & Jerry's made a statement that the ratio, the maximum that the executive could get paid is 5 times what the lowest paid employee gets paid. So that's what the 5-to-1 ratio is in that case. Ben & Jerry's stated that when they were running the company. When they sold the company, it got changed to 7-to-1, and then 12-to-1, and then abandoned entirely. So it's no longer in effect, but given that they initiated it, most organizations that use the tethering ratio will at least pay some respect to Ben & Jerry's for creating that. The thing I want to point out, though, the J.P. Morgan one is a ratio of the highest paid employee to the second highest paid employee. And they're saying the maximum should be 1.5-to-1. That was J.P. Morgan's personal criteria for the companies that he would invest in. So that's a very mainstream corporate ratio for justice and equity in compensation.
The third one, is that Chronicle of Higher Education?
Yeah.
Is that a study of lots of higher ed?
It is, yeah. It's a study across higher education, and instead of a maximum, it's an average. So in this case, the notion is that our highest paid employee, the CEO, and the highest paid faculty member, the ratio of their pay should average about 3.15-to-1 across the marketplace. So we want to sort of use that. And again, that's a relatively conservative mainstream approach to tethering. It's not a radical activist approach, as we might say Ben & Jerry's.
I think it's very like institutions and about the private institutions. How do you include the public sector?
Good question. It's very difficult with the data. We use data from iPads and Coupa, and I forget what those stand for off the top of my head. It's very difficult to segment out private institutions, in particular segmenting out private institutions that are nonprofit. So if we look at private institutions, usually we get a bunch of for-profit ones as well to compare to. So we have to sort of make a guess of what's the best possible analysis that we can do.
And what's the
Solve that problem.
what's the benefit package that
Yeah.
Is there any package that comes with it that really raises the value of what that salary really is?
This is not. It doesn't include benefits, but this came out of the Human Resource Planning Task Force. They also were doing analysis on benefits, fringe benefit distribution, and healthcare benefits, and discretionary time off.
Plus the other health benefits for staff with their work.
It's a sharing, cost sharing. So the college does make a contribution, and then we pay some as well. It's a pretty good program, actually. Question in the back?
Just to put context to the Ben and Jerry's model, it really came out of the cooperative industry. Because within cooperative, to set the standard of, I think it was a lowest 4 to 1 at one point. And so they were somewhere in that 4 to 6 to 1 range.
Yeah.
And Ben and Jerry's took on that sort of approach to running their cooperative.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think it's a great opportunity to point out as well what we're seeing in society right now is the nonprofit community is tending to get more business oriented, trying to get more organized, more effective. At the same time, a lot of the corporate community is tending to get more values oriented, B corporations, social enterprise. So I think we're moving towards a common ground where we want to see the mind and the heart working in balance together. And we no longer want to see those sectors as either more heart or mission oriented or more mind and profit oriented.
That's a GP more than more like 400, 500.
Absolutely. Yeah, if we look right now. For those folks who are interested, some of this work actually came out of a website called compensationstandards.com. It's a great source primarily for corporate entities, but at least we can say we want to do a bit better towards justice and equity. And this is a very rudimentary early version. There are so many projects that I could go on for about 3 more hours. Here's another list of what we've been doing just in the last year, but I don't want to just rattle off and be a talking head at you too much. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the things I've talked about, the things I haven't, the things that you would like to see here. I've gotten already a couple suggestions that way. So what questions do you have? Thanks a lot for the time. I'm happy to answer questions.
Is this available?
I can make it available after you. Like I said, it's the first time I've done it. We've been so focused. I came on board and thought, let's focus on walking the walk before we really talk about it. And now we're getting to a point where we're talking about it.
I just have a comment, which is I taught here in 1999. It's incredible what you all at the college have done in the last 15 years. So, nice job. Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
We are
In the
changing.
campus, the village, just, I can't imagine, it's incredible what you've been able to do. Before, the campus really oriented towards Grove Street,
Mm-hmm.
and the library was across the street there, and it
Yeah.
has a completely different feel oriented towards the creek, and, I'm sure that was a vision at some point, and a lot of hard work to make it happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I encourage you, when you all go home, to continue to revisit the visioning exercise that we did. Imagine, what do you want to see in 10 years? We're going to be completely successful on our path together. And we're really going to rise to the challenges that we have as a global community here. Keep in mind, those ideas, you can always send them to me. jpittman@prescott.edu. I've got business cards if you want a phone number as well. I welcome any ideas or suggestions.
Well, first of all, thank you. I mean, it's such a wonderful but how do you liaison with your counterparts at other institutions? And I'm particularly interested in the design portion because I came from a school where they were starting to get really active in sustainability. And so I was wondering, okay, that's probably an area where some people could work together.
Yeah. In terms of other institutions across higher education, not very well. I've been really emphasizing this, let's walk our walk, sort of head down, let's focus on what we're doing, not telling anybody what we're doing. And we're kind of getting to the point where we're going to expand out again. So we haven't been attending the national sustainability conferences. We do have a lot of students and faculty who are connected to the Green School listserv, which for about 20, 25 years has been the dominant higher education listserv for sustainability. So there's a lot of really focused inquiries and research there. But in terms of general liaising, not very much. In terms of the local community, a bit more. Faculty members working on various projects, the COSIC Institute, the college as a whole. We've been doing a lot of different projects and programs with the local community that if I had 2 more hours, I could tell you tons.
What's some idea of the influence these initiatives have had on the community? Do you have any sort of sense of what that is like?
Yeah, I sure do, and actually, I just realized I want to remember to take any questions from online in a minute. So, the influence has changed. I would say when I was a student here in the 90s, town-gown relations were not very good. We live in a relatively conservative community, both in the country and also in the state, actually. So there hasn't been. I think I would characterize the relationship as really being full of assumptions and prejudices, that we tend to have an image of the other that we don't really check to see if it's real. And I think we're getting past that both ways. So I think the impact we've had locally is really improving. A lot of the projects and collaborations that we're working on have improved. The politics locally are changing as well. So we're seeing more and more initiative locally towards open space acquisition, towards land use management that's going to be good for the environment and clean our water. So I think it's improved, and I think both the college and the community have helped each other quite a bit. Does that answer your question, or?
Yeah, but to some extent, you know, I was wondering if you have anything prompting homeowners in the neighborhood to say, let me retrofit my home to be more energy efficient, you know, that type of thing.
Yeah, we're good. That's part of the consultancy idea that we're talking about. One of the things that we're talking about doing is working with local homeowners to make their homes more energy efficient and actually using that as a way to generate greenhouse gas emissions offsets to help offset our emissions locally. Another good story there is the neighbors over here when we were building the village. A few of them were totally in an uproar and against it. This is going to be absolutely horrible. And the ones who actually had the worst impression of the project when it was done came by and said, "This is amazing what you've done here. I really enjoy coming on campus and walking in the common area. I like seeing the village there and knowing that it's solar powered, that the students are really friendly, and it really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be." So we are getting good feedback in that way. Any questions online?
Judith from Cohort 9 just says, thank you very much. I did not know about most of these projects, and it's very helpful.
Great. We'll spread the word, and like I said, we can always use ideas for what to do next. So please feel free to flood me with ideas or questions or comments that you have, and I'm happy to help with any projects that you have going where I might be in service. Any other questions?
I just
You.
have one announcement.
Promote has asked that I take the posters, but we're required to ask you guys to roll them up or put them in some